have lots of cheers. Sayako. Him and Jim are gonna talk about things that might just blow your mind. Talking absolute DC and leaving everything else behind. Sayako. It's the Weird Science DC Comics Absolute DC Show. It's the Weird Science DC Comics Absolute DC Show. So let's go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Absolute DC Comics podcast here at Weird Science. I'm here, as always, with my man Gray. What up, Gray?
All right there, Jim. Let's go. Eco. That's what I say.
Oh, that was twice we had to play that intro. I do like that song. It's a little shout out to Gray. My attempt at Japanese there might have failed horribly, but here we are. It is episode 15, and we are talking Absolute Superman. Even though I ended up having a thumbnail for Absolute Wonder Woman up, and I never learn, Gray. I'll never learn. I end up everything.
You're learning every day. That's what you keep telling me.
Everything ends up being the craziest things, and I did end up, and some people might have heard by now, but I ended up getting in an accident this week where I got hit by a UPS truck while I was on a bike, which then forced my teeth to go through my lip. Lost a tooth, and a lot of things went wrong after that. I believe I'm still in concussion protocol. I don't think I'd be able to play.
This up, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot make this up seriously. Jim's life. It's like a movie, isn't it? A movie,
a horror
wrong.
movie.
A horror movie.
And the guy was so upset, and I actually felt bad for him. I felt bad for the guy. He didn't mean to mess me up. But in the meantime, as I was doing things, that even involved setting this up. I was supposed to do something with Sully. Everything got screwy. And then I couldn't sleep last night. And then me and you recorded early this morning. And I did say to my wife, one of the weird things is that I woke up and record it with Gray right away, and now it's later on in the night and recording with Gray. So we're double shot here, the bookends. All I did in between that was try to eat potato chips, and it didn't work. It did not work.
Hang on a minute. You've got a cut lip, right? And you're trying to eat salty potato chips?
Yeah, I also had curry earlier, so I did have that too. But I was trying to eat potato chips, and it didn't work. It was not working. So with that, though, we are here to talk a little Absolute DC and Absolute Superman number 5, the finale. It says the Last Dust of Krypton finale. And in all of that, me and you didn't read it till today, right? I'm pretty sure that's what you had said as well. And I didn't read it until
that's right
before we go on. I usually do.
Yeah.
But I read a little earlier and then fell asleep and almost missed our recording. But the idea where I had been told and heard people were saying, oh my God, this Absolute Superman, it really kicks butt. Like, this one is the bee's knees. And so I was really looking forward to it. I'm not going to say that it was bad. I'm not going to say it was bad like Gabe did, Sus Gabe with his review, but I think that people got me so pumped up that I was expecting a little more. I think that they might have hyped it a bit too much for me. I'm going to try to have that not really affect my overall deal. But I was expecting, and one of the big things that happened in this book so far is we ended up seeing what seemed to be like a Ma Kent asking for her little baby boy and things like that. And I thought maybe we'd get a little of that, but that's going to be coming up. You even have where at the end he's heading to Smallville. But how about you? I mean, you heard too. A lot of people, we even talked about it this morning when we were recording, the idea of, man, this one's supposed to be really great, right?
Yeah, just looking at reactions on the usual kind of review sites, most people are really raving over this, saying they haven't felt these kind of feelings in years, reading a comic book, Jim. So
really,
what we were saying is kind of the same kind of story, isn't it, we've had before of getting out of Krypton, how they escaped. It's just the Absolute Universe's version of that.
Yeah. And it's funny, too, that when you were saying that, when I'm thinking about it, the idea, and I'll tell you, I got a little feels when I went to see Titanic, right, back in the day.
Did your heart go on? That's what I want to know.
Yes, it did, actually. But in the meantime, I kind of knew that the boat was going to sink. So it's kind of like that here. You know, Krypton is going to be destroyed. You know, it's going to blow up. And once it starts blowing up, the real play is going to be, who survives besides Kal. Kal obviously has made it to the deal, but this ends up, like I said, in my mind, I thought halfway through, like, okay, I get it. Krypton's, exploding. And it almost gets to the point where Jason Aaron, like, really goes a little bit further with the idea of, like, Kal just, like, waxing poetic about, if people didn't fight, and if we had this, I'm like, okay, you kind of know what's happening here. Let's move on. But in the meantime, I thought the stuff actually in the here and now, I thought that was a little bit better. You just end up not really doing much because of how much we dealt with Krypton. But I'll give you the credits, and then we'll start from the beginning. But it's Absolute Superman #5, written by Jason Aaron, Rafa, Sandoval on art, which still is just great. Ulysses Ariola on colors, Becca Carey on letters. So when you do end up starting, and we've had a bunch of the, flashbacks to Krypton, and I have kind of wanted to get done with Krypton. That's the thing. And I said, we know Krypton's going to blow up, I assumed. And if it is going to be that, like, let's get the hell off of Krypton and let's get to the here and now. Let's see what Kal's doing and what he's all about. And you actually do get a bit of that in here, but we're heavy Krypton, obviously, as we said. And again, when it starts off, you end up having everybody rioting because that news story had gotten out that the Science Council, they are actually leaving Krypton. They knew that this was happening. And to me, that's the strongest part of it. And it has been the idea that they're telling Jor-El that he's nonsense, but yet they already knew, and they were actually building ships to get off themselves. But again, you go into it from the beginning. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it starts off, as you say, with these riot scenes and some really strict narration by Jason Aaron. He's saying, we've got like, I guess it's Clark, is it saying, after my entire family was sentenced to death by the Science League, Law Guild shock troops raided our home. They're not messing about on this version of Krypton, are they, Jim?
No,
say that.
No, and it's funny too with this though. At this point, I think that you might want to forget this whole deal and leave. I mean, the planet's blowing up, right?
Get the hell out of there, yeah.
You end up where the Science Council's still like, man, we got to get those L's. Like, we're going to get them, even though everything is getting blown apart. And you end up where the big thing here, it seems to be, to me, what you have Superman learning is you can never save everybody, right? I mean, he even says, yeah. And you end up having Laura and Jor-El, when they're getting in the ship, Laura wants to go save everybody. She's like, I could do this. And I thought that's what was going to happen. I thought, because she's almost saying, listen, the integrity of the ship doesn't matter that much. How about we finagle some things and we'll be able to fit more people?
Just try and get more people in. Surely we can fit more in.
Yeah, and I thought that Jor-El saying like, no, we can't. I thought that was a little bit of a forewarning deal that she was going to do it, and that's how we'd end up having people. Because I didn't expect everybody to make it to Earth. We get it in a different way. I mean, things are going really, really bad at this point. But you end up where she's worried. She's even saying, that old man who always smiles. I think that guy's sus. That guy smiling and waving probably isn't even wearing pants. You don't see that, right? It might be Sasuke. She's there. The Gelks, who we had over they had us for dinner. I went to Jor-El like, that dinner sucked. Yes, forget about them. And that old man who waves and smiles. Yeah, that guy's sus. But you end up where he says, we can't save everyone. And I also thought it was going to be one of those Simpsons deals, like when you had the hurricane, that all those people, I thought those were people they were leaving behind, like, oh my God. But it seems like those are the people that are showing up to go in. In the meantime, they're doing a deal, which is pretty cool. Hey, everybody, you get integrated with the ship. This AI's going, and we know of Saul with Kal. But Kal's like dithering about. He was getting on my dad, like, get in the ship. He's like
he's
walking
just playing
around.
With Krypto, isn't he? He's playing with his dog. The planet's exploding around him.
You got to get on. But you do end up where he does reach down and grab some of the Kryptonian dust, which I guess is what integrated into the cape when he gets that. And talking to Krypton, when you end up where you have Krypton, you end up he would have died. If Krypto wasn't there, Kal would have died. It's a crazy deal, but he's meandering about a little, and he almost falls. It's one of those. you kind of know he survives. So it's, it's one of those, it's not real shocking what I thought it was going to be. I thought that you ended up having Jason Aaron maybe do a little Man of Steel play here, where Jor-El goes to save Kal and then trips and falls like he's clumsy like me, and goes to save Kal and trips and falls into the crevice. But that didn't happen. Or maybe
Jim,
Krypto would have been
I don't know
ready.
how far ahead they write these issues, but is it just synchronicity? But the scene where you've got Krypto grabbing hold of Kal-El, it's straight off
Almost
the
like the
new
trailer.
trailer, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it does
Superman
feel like that.
2025.
Yeah, it does,
but
even when he's
Krypto,
doing
good
that.
dog, Krypto.
Yeah, and you even have like that same haircut too. You have it all there.
Yeah.
Now, in the meantime, what Kal is really upset about, and I don't think that this is, anything that isn't on purpose. You're going to get these shock troops, and they have this odd deal. It's the military troops, very much like the peacekeepers when we are on Earth, very
Yeah.
much like them. And that seems to be something where Kal is going to equate the idea of, as Krypton is getting blown up and falling apart, instead of people helping each other, he hopes, he even says, and again, it kind of gets drawn out, but he does say, I hope there's some people helping each other, because he saw a lot of people just hitting each other with batons and stuff like that. At one point, it looks like you even see Supergirl getting beat up. But you
Oh my
end up
God.
where all this stuff going down, and there, I mean, also somebody ended up at some point got a hold of Bruce Wayne and got his dump truck Batmobile, because that one big dump truck comes in and just rips through everybody, and everybody's losing their
That's on
minds.
some of the variant covers, isn't it? You
Yeah.
see them. I think there's one by Jay Lee and one by Sean Gordon Murphy, which I might have just purchased, by the way, Jim. I
Really?
had to get a physical copy because I think this art, most of the time, the art in this is amazing.
Yeah,
Sandoval really, hits it out of the park, doesn't he? Knocks out
Yeah.
the park in this.
Yep,
one.
I agree. It looks great. And
It looks
again,
gorgeous.
you have what would be, and even then, I kept thinking when Cal's like, listen, I wish people would get along, and I wish they were down. I'm like, the world is ending. If the world just all of a sudden you're told the world's ending, and that also the government has known about it and they have ships going, I don't think people are going to be nice. People are going to
Could you
freak
proceed
out.
calmly to the nearest evacuation?
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
no way, is
Yeah.
it? You've got explosions everywhere all around you. You're going to be running. Every
Running.
man for himself.
And I really do think at one point, like, what would you do at the end of the world? Some of these people are just like, the Science Council, I've been really ticked off of them for a while, and now they
Yeah.
did this, and they're just going to try killing people. I mean, what does it matter? It looks
They're
like
still
the
denying it
planet's
as
going.
well, with the
Yeah.
planet exploding
Yeah, that's
around
the
them.
best.
No, everything's fine,
the
folks.
best.
Come on.
It's like, nothing to see here. The planet
Yeah.
is not blowing
Move
up
along.
underneath you. You can have fun. And there's mention of, everything that's going on and the idea of candor, all that stuff going, while you end up having him say, some of the ships at one point actually says no ships left that day, but then says, none in the cities or no official things. But
Right.
obviously theirs kind of ends up going, but then there's problems. But then we go back to Earth, and we've had a bunch of things leading up to this. We ended up having a big deal with Peacekeeper and things like the whole Lazarus and things like that. But the big play is that people had just died. I actually expected Lois to be in here, and with the whole Peacemaker stuff going, I keep saying Peacekeeper, but Peacemakers, and Kal wanting to find that Christopher Smith. He wants to find him because of what he did to those people. He says there are 23 people dead. They're dead in Orangi Town, gunned down for the unforgivable crime of laughing at a man with a gun. Now, remember, Kal left them and left him, and Lois even taunted him when they were all frozen and stuff, and then everybody started laughing. I still think that Kal might have been somewhat, privy to it, but you end up where he's now really pissed, and he is
Yeah.
hurting people. I mean, he's definitely hurting them when he comes in with the, heat vision and stuff like
I
that.
thought he was burning all these
Yeah.
Peacemaker troops. What do you think? Well,
It-
he is,
it
isn't
looks
he?
like he
He's
is.
not killing
Yeah.
them, but
I
man,
think-
he's hurting them.
And they might be, they might be burn victims. That's not fun. Like he's
No.
pissed. He's actually doing
He's
a little
really
more
angry.
than what I think, say, our Superman would do. But he is mad, and he does go after this one guy and says, "Where's Christopher Smith? He killed these innocent people. Where's Lazarus hiding him? And he's going to kill this guy. He ends up where he's going to, and the guy then says, "Please don't kill me." And that's where you do see, and the art plays it great, where he kind of snaps out of it. And when he looks over and sees all the rest of the people, he must not have realized he did that to them, because he looks shocked when he looks
He
over of the
does.
damage that he did. And
What
yeah,
Jim, when he's going crazy, when he's like, he's going through all the Peacemaker troops, I've got to say again about the art, but the coloring, why everything's almost like red, in shades of red, you can feel that anger, can't you?
oh
Feel his
yeah,
fury.
yeah.
He is losing control big time. So yeah, that is actually done really well.
And I think that the good play of it too is when it then stops, you see, the red goes away, and then you get the
Yeah,
idea that he was
you
in
get the
like
colors and
he was
normal
in a
colors.
berserker rage. He
Yeah, he
was
was
so
exactly.
angry.
Yeah.
And with that, I think that the cool play, if you go with it, because of the narration, you could just say, well, this is the way that the story's going and progressing. But you could get the idea that he's thinking of the day Krypton ended up exploding while he is fighting these peacemakers. Because again, those troops, the Zod troops on Krypton, were pretty much like that. So I think
Yeah.
that all this was swirling around in his head, and he was losing it because of the idea that they ended up killing just innocent people because they laughed at him. But again, the cool play of the layers of it is Christopher Smith did not want to go out. He begged. The Brainiac system said, I can't go out there. I have problems. He ended up talking about the problems. And then Brainiac, no, you go out. And off he went. And he was very unstable. He had the whole thing. And people were talking about maybe he ends up becoming, say a Metallo, somebody that would be
that's
a
right.
villain. And
He could be being set up to be that. Yeah,
yeah, and
definitely.
that's pretty cool. And I think that it's still probably going to happen. But at this point, Cal just wants to find him and is really, really angry and says to Saul, you find him. I got to, and I like this too, because we haven't had Saul full out as much as this one in a bit. And the idea that Saul can, scour things and try to find things and really do more work than what we saw mainly from Saul is him being worried about Cal. Don't do this, go there, get away from this. But when he goes and tries to reach out and tries to find some things, Brainiac ends up, seeing or feeling and ends up trying to tap in. And then they even have like this little weird parlay of, hey, Brainiac, he said that he'll give you this if you do that. And I'm like, you don't want to deal with Brainiac.
He's offering to give Smith's whereabouts if, he'll come and talk to him. And this is weird, Jim. And you got this part where Saul's talking about, he's found Brainiac, he's found the research development facility. He's talking about Kandor, isn't he? Like they're like miniaturized alien cities stored in bottles. People inside won't stop screaming. I think he's trying to get Cal angry again.
And the thing is, it's like, well, how was he saying? Like the idea that Saul is like, I got to find the whereabouts. You're using GPS, you're going and triangulating things or whatever. And then suddenly it's like, oh, yeah, Brainiac was talking to me. What was he like virtually in the room with him and looking around like, oh my God, there's bottled cities and I hear people screaming. But like you said, now in that, you could hope that maybe one of them's Kandor or one of them, as this plays out and goes forward, where it could end up being something. But obviously, Brainiac does bottle cities. He likes to do that. But the idea, I think you're right. Like maybe Saul should go at it a little bit different. You know what I mean? Like the idea of like, hey, there's problems. We'll get to that later once you calm down. And I'm even saying, Brad Wenner in the comments actually just said he liked it. We actually get to see some personality from Superman in this issue. That's why I said this is my favorite part. The idea of Krypton and blowing up, we kind of knew it was coming. It was, a little bit overdone in my mind. But when you get to see Superman flip out, even if that's not what we want to see from Superman, this is absolute Superman, obviously, but you actually get some emotions and differing emotions, because when he
finally,
ends
this
up,
is a good point, Jim. This is what I've been waiting for this, because people have been saying, we're really getting to know him. I don't know this Cal yet.
No.
I don't really know much about him apart from when he was young on Krypton.
And that's been my biggest complaint about this book.
You want to know about him now, don't you?
Yeah.
How's he feeling now?
Exactly. And so when you do get it, and it's actually a little more nuanced, there's layers to it. As I said, it's not just anger. Like I would say at one point, that was my complaint, say, of a Tom King Batman, that people were saying, oh, you get a human Batman. I'm like, a human Batman with one emotion. He's angry all the time. And he's just yelling at everybody.
And he wants his mommy.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's Tom King, not Batman. So you end up with that, where when he's flipping out, again, when you don't really want Superman to do that, but then he pulls back, and you see that he does end up, and it even goes further, where he's going, and I think that this issue, the Krypton stuff, whatever, but this is what I like, and even the relationship with Saul develops a little more, where Saul, says, "Hey, we're going to do this." And again, it's not like he says, "Hey, this Brainiac guy, whatever." He's just giving Cal the stats. Listen, Brainiac tried to tap in. And then they have this technology that is, way off this world, and he wants to meet with you. Doesn't say, "Oh, you know what, Cal? I think that's a bunch of bullcrap." Like, he's just giving the stats because he's Brainiac, or Brainiac, and this is Saul. But the idea of the AI is just going with it. And Eric, when we were talking about it, he actually brought up a pretty cool deal that I wasn't thinking, because of how anti-AI Krypton had been. The idea where, or actually not they were with the AI, but evil
With
AI.
AI.
Yeah,
It was
they were
Kal,
with
wasn't it?
Kal
Kal-El
was
was kinda
anti-AI.
anti, yeah.
So when you do
Yeah.
get Saul, never really thought of that as, oh yeah, he's AI too. So it's kind of cool that he has to rely on that. But as you go, he says, yeah, hey, Brainiac wants to meet with you, but that's not on the up and up. He would never, I don't think Cal's that dumb. But then we go back to Krypton. That's where you do have little Cal grabbing the dust. And I didn't know how that played. I still don't know exactly how they're going to play it. Electrical field that you end up, Saul does this or that and gets the dust for the dust cape. But he does grab it. So you see that Crypto, so cute, bark and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, Cal almost slips and falls, and he's saved, like you said, almost like the trailer, by Crypto, and then he gets pulled up, and that's where
Jim,
you get
there's
this
a pretty
whole
cool
deal.
idea here as well, isn't there, in the ship, where they're saying, "Let the ship bond with you and become your spacesuit."
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
like that, and that will lead up to the I guess the cloak, the
So,
cape in the future.
and also them surviving. But I wonder what happened, because a bunch of the people did bond with the ship. So I'm wondering what exactly happened, because it's a little ambiguous at the end. You don't know
It is,
who
yeah.
survived or whatnot, but
Who survived.
it's supposed to be. But obviously, Superman, and a lady did say, "Where is my little boy?" So when he's heading to Smallville at the end, is that where? Did the Kents find him, or was it the idea that his mom and dad assumed that? I'm talking Laura Drell. We'll have to find out. But Crypto ends up saving him. And so in Kandor, shit's going real bad. People are really like, they are just screaming and yelling and going. And I did go, after they talked about Brainiac and the idea of the bottles, I did go back to see it at some point, like in the very distance, like you'd see, oh my God, look, there's like something coming down. It might have been Brainiac grabbing Kandor or something like that, but I didn't see it. And it looks like, they're just going down, and everybody's screaming. There's too many people. There's just too many people, that there's not enough ships. There wouldn't been, even Cal says, if we had the time, more people would have survived, but not all of them. There's just too many people. And that's where he says not a single ship left that day. And again, the Science Council, they're leaving in ships, and people are pissed. I imagine like some guys are throwing rocks at the ships, but obviously somebody else is also firing, and the planet itself, almost as if the planet's angry at them, is kind of blowing up and really bringing down a lot of ships as well. So there's a lot of problem. And then you see that Cal might be, a serial killer or something. He's like, I started smiling. And I'm like, it's not time
A
to
strange
smile.
calmness came over me. Yeah, with the planet exploding again around him.
I'm like, you don't need that.
Don't be scared,
right?
little girl.
You do not need the deal. And I see that Brad W. I didn't realize that it was Brad from the Get Fresh crew. But yeah, Brad's right though. I'm really big on the idea where you had more character from Cal, because that's the one thing that it was missing. That was really missing in general. But so when you're going, again, it's a lot of waxing poetic. Oh my goodness, the planet. And we ended up destroying it. Millions of people, millions of specks on it. I'm like, okay, we get it. It's going to blow up. I actually thought by the end, there better be a twist. Because if you just keep saying this, but it doesn't look like there was. And so the feels I got were more from the here and now as it's going, because then you end up having just, kryptonite, kind of. It's just rocks. I mean, the planet's blowing up, and part of it blows in and ends up destroying their ship.
That's what happens. Yeah, I wasn't clear at first, Jim.
Yeah.
But it's a planet, isn't it? It's part of the planet, like
Yeah.
hitting the ship, a huge rock. It sunders it in two, and people are like, "Fly! What happened to their spacesuits?"
Yeah, and they should have been. I
Suddenly.
mean, they were bonded with
What's
them
going
and
on?
whatever. I guess they ditched them. But I think that Jason Aaron tries to get a little too clever when he's like, and then with the speed of a bullet fired from a gun the size of a planet. I'm like, oh man, they made a huge. Oh, he means the planet itself. Why
The
is he-
planet's turned
why
into
is
a
he got
gun. Oh my God.
fancy? Again, I think it would have been a better play with the narration of kind of like the idea where the planet is seeking revenge because it's just blowing up and it's ripping everything apart. And yeah, their ship gets torn apart right after Kal says, my mom and dad built the ship, and it blows up. And he's like, oh crap. But that's where Saul comes in and says, don't be afraid. I have a spacesuit. I will protect you. And was why Laura, and especially Laura, but Jarell as well, were saying, come on, let the ship bond to you. So some of these others, I'm like, I don't know why things aren't going around them, but maybe they're already dead. Maybe the problem is that when that hit, because, I mean, it got hit pretty bad. But the one
they were
thing,
taken out in the explosion, probably.
and
Yeah,
the one thing that people were really worrying, and there's a lot. I mean, when you see these ships form, there's more than just them.
Oh
There's
God,
a
yeah,
bunch
there's loads of them,
people.
aren't there? So
yeah, so there's people who
survive.
ended up.
But are they alive inside or not? It's not clear, is it?
And are they? I don't know if some of them got to Earth. Some might be other planets. It might lead to a lot of other things going on. And some of the things to even think about is, Kara. Was she part?
Sure.
Did she make it? What about
that could be
Zod?
cool, couldn't it? If he explores that more in the future. I mean, it could lead to all sorts of stories. But yeah, I wonder how many actually got off the planet. How many survived?
When you do that later on, like you have Scott Snyder talking about the Batman book. Obviously, in the Batman book, what you really want are the Rogues Gallery, and he's announced, hey, Mr. Freeze and things. That's going to be something that you're really going to be into for Batman. But with Superman, a lot of it is the family, and a lot of it is Supergirl and Power Girl. Like I want to see, and luckily it seems Crypto, because he is in one of the. She's just sitting there in the ship, probably not knowing what the heck is going on. In the meantime, a lot of people were worried and said, "I hope that Crypto. I hope we don't see Crypto die." But these ships are going. You end up seeing. Jarell and Laura, of course, they're in together. Like there's poor Kal by himself, but you end up having them, and there's Crypto on the side. Has no idea
Crypto's
what's going
in
on.
one, his mum and
Look
dad
at
in
him.
another.
Yeah.
And he's on his own. It's like, oh no!
I like when
where are
Crypto
you?
looks over at Kal, but then later you look, he's just like looking in the air. Wagging his tail and his tongue's out. I'm like, what is
I'm
going
going
on?
this way.
Yeah, he's like, I'm out of here. Again, that would be something where definitely the Kal would want to find Crypto if they don't all end up. We're going to have to wait because he's heading at the end. He is walking back to, Smallville saying, I'm going to go and find out some things. So we'll find out more. And again, when we have Krypton blow up, we kind of knew that was going to happen. But going and finding out some things and having flashbacks of him as a kid, if he was in Smallville, I don't care that we've seen that before because it's obviously going to be different. So I think that would be pretty cool. But as things are getting destroyed, it's weird too, as forests are coming down, and that's where Jason Aaron is really going, I think, a couple pages too far with this. But at one point when all the trees are going, it almost looks like the Fortress of Solitude. At one point, I'm like, oh, no, it's just that stuff going down. But these ships are trying to get out.
I see that.
And then you end up having that play where everything's getting enveloped in and boom, Krypton just blows up. And the art's incredible. It looks
It's a great
really,
double-page
really
spread,
good.
that, isn't it, Jim? Yeah, we see the different ships and huge explosion, and it's not clear. Does only Kal-El's ship, survive? Is that the only one that gets away?
And that's all you see. So it's like, oh my God, but I hope that that's not the case. It's weird to say, if too many people go, because you kind of do want the last son of Krypton, but I do want Supergirl. I would like to have a bunch of the characters involved with this as well. So we'll have to see what's going on. But it does look at one point that it might just be Kal, and then he freaks out. And he's, Mom, Dad, can anyone hear me? And he's all alone. And he starts hitting it. And again, one of the things that you could think of is him going to Earth now is more similar to Kara than him. He was a baby in the regular deal. He pretty much probably goo goo gaga pooped his pants and slept, right? This is him going and really freaking out and having an AI with him that might be teaching him some things, getting him ready to go to Earth, and more, as I said, more of a Supergirl type deal than what we had with Cal in the regular continuity. So I think.
Do you think we're going to
cool.
see Kara in the future, Jim?
I
in
hope.
This series?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really hope though, because I really, really want to see her, and I want to see what happens. But I'm afraid because
I'm sure most people do. Yeah. I mean, Brad's talking about it in the chat as well.
Yeah, it would be so cool. What I worry about in these things though is the idea like. She shows up horrifically scarred, and I don't want to.
He could take a different look at it.
And that would be cool, but I don't. I just.
Or
want
she gets
Kara
like
to be
hunted
Kara.
down and captured by Brainiac, and that could lead to a whole new story as well. He's got her somewhere on his ship.
And you would hope that she would have been one of the people being, relative and things like that, being one of the people that would have been there, but they kind of saw. And I swear to God, at one point when you did have Kandor and everybody was beating the crap out of each other, I swear to God it was her in the middle.
I'm gonna have to go back and check that page.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it just looks like it. But again, it might just be, they might have people that look like Kara a dime a dozen, or it might have been a kind of a red herring. But she seemed to be there. But I hope that she got out. And I hope that Zod did, because that's a huge villain. And again, he's going to be mad. And I think that at some point, people might start thinking that, though Jor-El wasn't part of the Science Council, they may start to blame him at some point or something about that. And the idea, if they find out, they built a ship as well and didn't help us, like stuff like that might end up being pretty cool. But it is, pretty cool in the overall deal of the here and now. And because you do end up with Superman when he's there. And at this point, it's the end. But I did like the idea where at one point then Saul says, never mind about all this. I found him. I found Peacemaker. I found Christopher Smith. And he's like, nope, I don't want to see him anymore. And then Saul is like a lot. It's like Spock. What I mean is nonsense. Like he's logical. Like, I found this guy. Let's go. And Cal says, no, I'm afraid. And he goes, well, you should be afraid of Lazarus. I mean, they're pretty badass. And then he's like, no. I'm not afraid of Lazarus. I'm afraid of what I'll do. And that's the best.
If I get my hands on him.
It's the best Superman moment we've had in this entire series, of him saying, I'm afraid that I will lose my cool and kill somebody, and I don't want to do that. That actually gives you more of the concept of what the Superman is than any sort of, I'm going to go and get diamonds and put him and get him. Like that was fine. That's kind of what he knew, whatever. But this actually is character work and actually gives you a play. Now, it kind of is Superman, but I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the idea. But also I'm fine with the idea that he could lose his cool, and he kind of does, but he backs it off. If that Peacemaker didn't say, please don't kill me, I think he kills him. I think that he doesn't even realize and just, heat visions him through the face. And then
I like that Jason Aaron's exploring that, though, Jim. I like that, he's pushing it to that kind of limit, because, as we keep saying, we still don't really know this version of Kal-El, the actual present day in this absolute universe. So, he does he have control of all his powers yet?
Yeah, we
Obviously
don't know
not.
that, right? And we don't. He says at the end where he's going, and he says, hey, I'm going to head back. I'm going to go home. And you see Smallville, Kansas going to... But what was in Kansas for him? If it's not the Kents, if it's something a lot of the stuff going on could really go and make sense. Oh, that's how he was brought up. He wasn't, because he is losing his cool. Maybe he didn't have the full guidance of what he had, in the regular universe, where you did have the Kents, and later on even being able to tap into stuff from his parents with the crystals and stuff like that at points. But the idea, we'll have to see what happened and how he did it. And he's heading back to Smallville. We haven't really seen him, I guess, in a way of like, hey, look at me, mild-mannered reporter, Clark Kent. Like, he is just Superman.
No.
You know what I mean? He's just Cal.
Almost in his costume, isn't it?
And that's,
with the cape or without the cape.
And so he's walking, he still has 10 miles. Don't know why. I guess maybe the flying is the idea, because it is night and he has to reach it. But maybe he's just hoofing it. He's taking the scenic route. But we don't know if he's
Jim,
just
how's your Latin, by the way?
Superman.
Because mine sucks. What does it say here? Ad astra per aspera.
That says,
at the bottom of the
beware
sign.
of gray. He's a Japanese AI. I think
he's
that's
a Japanese
what it says.
AI.
I took Latin in college for one semester, and I almost failed.
Thanks
I
to your,
told the
thanks to your
story about
dad's
it.
bad
Yeah,
advice, wasn't
my
it? Yeah,
dad
yeah.
said it was easy, and then I
You
asked him,
told
I'm
me
like,
that.
yeah, I'm like, hey, Dad, I thought you said it was easy. What? That was the hardest thing I ever took. I'm like, why did you say it was easy? And he said, I think I was just messing with you. Ay, ay, ay. That's like my dad. What a jerk. R.I.P.
Jim, we've got a question for you. A question from the chat. Sorry, Brandon was asking. He's not read this yet, but is Superman actually in the book for more than 2 pages? You know, and it's a good
Yeah.
question, isn't
Well,
it?
it's
Is he?
young Cal.
It's mainly young
He's
Kal, isn't it, on
super
Krypton?
boy. But actually, what you have in this is the pages that you have with actual Superman is probably about 5, 6, maybe, but they're
Yeah.
pretty big. Like they're not just, and I'll tell Brendan the idea before you would, and that's what was frustrating. You'd have Superman, but he would be angry and zip away. Lois would be there. Hey, we're going to do this and whatever. Or he would heat vision a gun and then zip away or not say anything
Yeah.
and leave. This actually, you're just with him going after the peacemakers, and it actually plays out really well. I think that everything.
Those pages were really good. Yeah,
and
when
I-
he's taking, you know, losing control, taking them down. That's a great moment
Yeah,
in the
and
book.
unlike maybe the I keep going to the Krypton exploding, that was overly narrated in my mind. But I do
Yeah.
like with the stuff with Superman on Earth, you can see that Jason Aaron and Rafa Sandoval are starting to get in line together because he's letting Rafa Sandoval. You even mentioned the idea when he's seeing red, literally seeing red. That's more of an art thing, but it tells the story really well. Jason Aaron is
does,
having him
yeah.
do that, and if you have art that good, you should, take advantage of that. And even when he pulls back and he's shocked, that's almost all art. A lot of the stuff that you get emotionally when Superman ends up being upset at himself, you don't have to have him. He does say to Saul, I'm afraid, and then said, no, I'm afraid of what I'll do. But when you actually see the moment, it's a ton of the art showing you that he is like almost appalled at himself. When he looks over at those other peacemakers and they are just maybe burn victims, but they're just laying there in a heap, and he looks and he's like, oh my God, I did that. Oh God, I don't want to do that. And that's where he pulls back and says,
Those 4 pages, they're my favorite part of the book.
It's
Yeah,
the best.
That whole scene.
And
It's
it
really
actually
good.
makes the thing, and I think they're the best pages of the whole series. Also, just think the idea where he really wants to go get, Christopher. He really wants to get Christopher Smith, Peacemaker, but he knows that he can't even trust himself even after that, because he just says, I'm not going to go. He could go and maybe take him somewhere. Again, he's not the authority, but maybe he could get him and, rough him up a bit or say, hey, don't do this. But he knows, I can't even see him. I can't get near him. So he says to Saul, screw it. And, once Saul, I know where he is. Let's go. He says, no, I'm not going to do it. And then he says, I need to go, and says, right now I just need to be alone. And mostly I need to be reminded, Saul, of home. And again, that shows you he's heading to Smallville, and that must be the anchor that usually it is. I mean, in the movies, but in the comics especially, in, say, an All-Star Superman, at one point he goes to Metropolis, and he's starting to kind of lose touch of himself, and he's starting to kind of get a little, and he goes back to Smallville. He goes back to hang out and to kind of, recharge his batteries and remember what it's all about. So I think that that's a really cool play. And I want to see what he does if he goes in and all of a sudden he's like Farm Boy Kent or whatever it would be. Or is he just like, you could have it that Smallville, they've done at points where Smallville kind of knows the secret, and they kept the secret, and he was just there, and the whole community raised him. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what it is, but I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that the stuff with Kal in the here and now was the best that we've had. I keep saying it. The idea of Krypton, it was okay. It was okay, but what was I going to say now? I got distracted because Matt actually has a super chat, and I was going to mention at the beginning that if you have any questions and super chats, whatnot, we'll talk about that once we get done the actual issue. We'll stay on the live stream a little bit and talk about things, so we'll do that in a minute. But what would you give this?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Maybe not as much as a lot of the people who was giving it 10 out of 10s, but really good issue, especially with the art, the coloring at times. And we finally get more, of Kal-El now. We get present day Clark. Well, it's not Clark, is it? Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
going
have
to
to
go
see.
8, a strong 8 out of 10, Jim, for me.
I think that I'm an 8 as well. Suscape gave it a 6.
I know. As I was reading his review, and people,
yeah,
I'm sure people are going to be angry about
he
that.
is. He
Gabe
is.
making people angry again, eh?
He is
Hey.
crazy. But yeah, so the whole play of all this, and yeah, I'm an 8 as well. I liked it, and Brandon even said, Brandon saw the score -6 out of 10. I think that's his rating of Gabe
So Gabe.
himself. But I actually told Gabe to come in the chat so he could get ripped apart tonight. But the idea of it being, and Brandon said it took, $30, $25 to $30 to get Superman. I want to say that that's not true, but the idea of the other books seemed to be setting up more. This book was falling behind. It was lagging a bit behind. I still liked it, but Superman has always been my third favorite of the three. It's always been. It
Yeah,
started going
same here. It
one.
took a
Now,
while to get warmed up,
it
hasn't it,
did,
to me?
but I think that
Yeah.
at this point, I think that all the books are kind of hitting. And I do think that it was Brad who even mentioned earlier the idea that some of these fourth issues, the ones before, in each of the series seem to be a bit down to then get to good number 5s to end the arcs. And now we're going to go forward. I mean, we're still going to get stuff with Superman, obviously, Smallville, but we're going to Krypton's exploded. We shouldn't be seeing that anymore. I think that's a good thing. We can move forward and get some character work and get some things going. But I do really, I think that this is on the right foot now. I think that I'm now fully invested. I'm really excited and do like all of these three. I do have, my favorite and whatnot. And I think that, Wonder Woman is creeping up for
Yeah.
Batman. Batman's still my favorite, but Wonder Woman's getting there. And
Mine
now
too.
Superman's
The
right behind.
last issue of Wonder Woman was really good.
Yeah,
That's,
and
it
to
really
tell
tied it up
everybody,
well.
we can reveal, we've read Flash, Absolute Flash. It's pretty good. And
It is. Yeah.
And some people, my man Simon, Drunk Simon, he's read the Absolute Martian Manhunter by Dennis Cam, and he really likes it. He wants to join us to talk about it when we have that come out. And in the meantime, a bunch of people have even read the next Wonder Woman. And I was told by 2 people that the next Wonder Woman is mind-blowing, is what they said. And I said to both of them, you screwed me. I'm going to end up being all hyped up, and then it's going to be something like this with Krypton, and I'm going to be upset. But
Jim, I meant to tell you before, but I've heard that the next Absolute Batman is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But it was Scott Snyder who was saying that. So
oh yeah, there it is.
Wait a minute, he says that every time.
Like,
doesn't
wait
he?
a minute. He's like,
Every
this is my
issue.
favorite issue. Now,
This is incredible.
Now you sound like Nick Lowe, where he's like, he has a book of the week on Twitter each week, and he's like, my favorite book of the week is absolutely Amazing Spider-Man. I'm like,
It's
oh,
the book I'm editing.
so the
What a
editor
surprise.
of the Spider-Man deal, he liked Amazing
the book
Spider-Man.
that I'm writing the letters page for.
yeah,
too.
yeah, really, and every letter in it, like the lowdown, give that smack of the face. I will tell you what people did tell me about the Martian Manhunter. It's wacky, it's really wacky, but it's pretty good.
It is.
I've
It's
also
out there. It's a bit psychedelic. It's a bit trying to be a little bit Grant Morrison, or even a
Yeah.
bit of Peter Milligan, Shade,
Yeah,
the Changing
yeah.
Man. Going back to that. A little bit.
exactly, and then the people who I've talked to have read the Absolute Green Lantern by Al Ewing. The only thing that I've heard from that is it's good, but it seems to change things just to change them. We'll have to see what that means. But I've read Flash, and it's good. And
I've heard the Green Lantern is
Lemire.
pretty dark.
Yeah,
And that's surprising for Al Ewing, isn't it?
Yeah.
With his metamorpho nonsense at
Yeah,
the moment.
really. Yeah, really. All of a sudden, we'll make jokes with that or whatever. But that is it. Like I said, as we go, we end up recording every Friday that there's Absolute Books. I do believe that we have Flash and Batman next week. So we'll double it up and kind of get through
Oh,
those
cool.
quick. And in the meantime, probably focusing more on the Flash because it's number 1, but we'll be reviewing both. And with that, we record live, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our YouTube channel, Weird Science Comics. And I do apologize to everybody. I have a mush mouth. And I think I was talking better this morning when me and you were doing our Doom Patrol deal. I'm struggling now. I can't even move my lip. And I did end up where they gave me some painkillers, and I wasn't going to take them. I needed to take them, and I think they're affecting me. And so I'm saying weird stuff. But I did
You're
eat curry.
saying you're getting high, Jim. You're getting
Yeah,
high.
I am.
No,
It's
no.
getting real high.
I still reckon it's that Doom Patrol issue we reviewed. I think
That
it
was
messed with your
wacky.
brain
And
yet
again,
again.
before
The
we
Men
go,
from Nowhere.
oh my goodness, before we go off the actual recording, because we're going to stay live on YouTube, but to let everybody know, please go check out Gray's YouTube channel, Wakasashi's Tea House. There'll be a link in the show notes, whether you're watching it on a replay here on YouTube or if you're watching or listening as a podcast, because we're going to have that. But I'm going to end up ending this. Like I said, if people want to hang out still in the live chat, we'll talk a little bit and whatnot, maybe talk about painkillers, because I now have a lot of them coursing through. I may have taken a little too many. That's my big problem. I don't really like taking them, but when I do, I sit there, I'm like, that didn't work. And I'm like, oh, let's say, oh no, I took too many. So we'll see. I'm getting very tired. So with that, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining me once again, Gray. I hope that people are enjoying these absolute books and something that they can grab onto, because a lot of people are down with the big two in general. But at Marvel, people seem to like the Ultimate stuff even more than me. But you end up with all this with that and Gray and whatnot. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm telling you, it's starting to hit me, Gray. We got to get out of here. So thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you later.
私はイギリスから日本に引っ越しました。感動して感謝しました。本当に大好きです。私は普通の男ではありません。私はもう本性の愛です。私にからかわないでください。そうしないとあなたは消えてしまいます。私は普通の男です。でも私はあなたを殺します。だからそのまま受け取ってください。足元に注意した方がいいよ。準備をしてください。フォローしないと大変なことになりますよ。私に中途はないららら。私はあなたを殺します。私は日本の愛です。あなたは警告されました。
All right. I hear more bang. Listen to this banging now. It's driving me nuts. Can
Can't
you
hear it, Jim.
You
I reckon
can't
it's in
hear
your
it at
head.
all?
It's your headache or the painkillers kicking in.
It might be. I had the problem with the idea of taking the painkillers, but also my Adderall, and I think they're battling for supremacy in my mind, because at points I'm like, all of a sudden I get this weird like jolt, and then all of a sudden I'm tired. Oh my goodness! But I did see Matt, who asked about, he also has something before, but asked about Doom Patrol reviews, and in that, me and Gray have a Grant Morrison podcast. We do it on, he does it on his members area on his YouTube channel, and we do it on our Patreon. And it's just because I didn't like Grant Morrison, and Gray is teaching me the ways of the Grant Morrison, which ends up where at first I was a little confused of why people like Grant Morrison. It's so wacky.
I know,
but,
right? Well, we started off too harsh. I think I started you with the Invisibles, didn't I? And then we moved on to Doom Patrol and Animal Man, and it's Animal Man that really won you over, Jim.
Yeah,
and
that's
Doom
the
Patrol
best.
actually.
Yeah, Doom Patrol is really good. So we actually we did episode or issue 36 was it this morning?
Yeah, we just recorded that.
And
that's not out yet, but yeah,
it's Danny the Street and stuff like that. It was really, really cool. And,
Flex Mentalo as well.
yeah,
Film on it. Yeah,
Jim
was right. Jim was right.
Yeah, really. So in that though, we do that, and we've done even the X-Men, the new X-Men. We kind of went off of that one though. A lot of people weren't really into that in the beginning, so we are doing a bunch of that stuff, but it's one of the things on different shows that we end up doing. It's fun. I actually really do like doing it as well. But also says that, and Matt also said, and thanks for the super chats, Matt, and then we have a couple others, but says, oh, thank God Jim's back. I don't know if I am. I think that I'm freaking crazy, and
Back
he
in
said,
spirit only, or
and
is it back in body only?
exactly, and he says,
No
"Will you be on the
spirit.
show tomorrow?" And I'm assuming he means the aficionado show, is what I
Ah,
think he might mean. I am
yeah.
not going to be on the aficionado show, and in fact, I ended up not even be able to do the show with Wes, our Hot or Not podcast this week. Because I don't 2 hours. I don't know. I said when I was talking with Gabe, and I've done stuff for our regular podcast, our DC Comics podcast this week, because that is one of the things. I haven't missed a show in 10 years, so no UPS truck stopping me there. But the idea I
Yeah,
was
if
yelling.
people don't realize, by the way, Jim got knocked off his bike. The first time he'd ridden his bike in years,
Yeah, it
and he
was the
got
first
hit
time
by a
in
bloody
years.
delivery truck.
Yeah, I ended up where my son Rafe, he used the car, and I needed to go get dog food for and I was getting yelled at about it. I was like, "Hey, oh, you should have got it yesterday." I'm like, "Screw it, I'm gonna walk." So I was gonna walk to the supermarket. There's a Giant down the road, and when I went out on the porch, my son's bike was out there, and I'm like, "All right, I think I'm gonna ride the bike." And I even thought to myself, like, "I'm gonna be a badass. I ain't wearing no helmet or anything. Huh? I'm a badass, guy." So I end up where I get on and I'm going, and I told Greg, because Greg's in Japan, there's a lot more bike riding and stuff like that, even in the UK. In the US, I said, if you have somebody who's, say, over 35 ever riding a bike, you assume DUI immediately. And in fact, my one buddy, he's a guy who does bike. He gets dressed up like he's freaking Lance Armstrong and stuff. And so he goes out. And at one point, he wanted me to go out with him. I said, I'm not wearing that getup. And I was going to get a shirt that on the back said, I'm exercising, I didn't get a DUI, because we have such a small town that I swear to God, the word get around. Oh my God, I don't even drink. And the word will get, oh, Jim must have started drinking. He got a DUI. So I ended up where I got on the bike and I went. And as I was going through the deal, I ended up going where my son he works at a donut shop, and I went in and I kind of went and cut through where the drive-through is, and this guy came out, and that's when he hit me. It was kind of my fault. I kind of like didn't see him, and then he didn't see me, and I flung into the handlebars, and my teeth went through my lip, and my lip completely split, like completely tore apart down to my chin. So I had some
And
issues.
if that wasn't bad enough, ladies and gentlemen, then he started eating spicy curry and
Yeah,
potato chips.
and I'll say that Mega Therion. As I was flying through the air, I
Oh my
wrote
God.
7 novels, just like the joke. And I think
Million
it was The
bestsellers.
Simpsons there with Stephen King. But yeah, I was having problems. So I ended up where when you hurt yourself and you hurt your mouth, you do get your tongue and like zip it around. And I'm like, oh God, because it went right through my lip. And I was like, oh God. And at one point, then I picked my tooth out of my lip. It was like stuck in there, and then it kind of broke. I was not having a good time. I didn't even go to the doctor. The guy was eating. He had a coffee, and I ended up where I didn't get the dog food. And when I came home, I got yelled at, even though my lip was. Actually, the lip is. If you want to know what it really looked like the Predator, with the flayed out, like, oh, it was
Oh,
it was
Jesus.
disgusting. So I ended up yesterday recording with Gabe, and we were doing Action Comics, and I started yelling about something in Action Comics, John Ridley or something, and I realized as I was yelling that I was spraying blood everywhere, and this thing, it was disgusting. It was the worst thing. I thought it's the worst podcasting I ever. I ended up, it was on the pop. Oh, it was disgusting. It was so bad. I was struggling.
Jesus,
but,
Jim, as if your mic is not dirty enough already.
Yeah,
Now
really.
it's coated in blood
it's just
and all
blood.
sorts of-
I did clean it, but it's still a little shady. But
You clean it, but you don't clean the sock, do you? That's over the end.
I didn't do that. I have this huge, like,
Legendary.
cuboid thing over the sock as well, because I do end up yelling and stuff like that. But Jack ended up saying, Jim, can't thank you enough for keeping all the shows going with E's departure, the big E. It has been very fun and entertaining. Hope you feel better soon. It's weird. I actually always feel like shit. So I always like have that always like, hey, but yesterday I woke up, I felt bad. And then today I felt okay. And then I took some painkillers. I don't even know why I did. I should have just not taken them, because they're really affecting me, and not affecting me in a good way. So with that, I end up where all this, I still have some stuff that I have to edit and things, but the actual DC podcast, pretty much all recorded except for 2 books. I have to record
Awesome.
tomorrow.
I
I
can't
have to
wait.
do Dark Patterns and the what's that, Batman and Robin, which I hear, and people, obviously I'm not going to spoil anything on any of the books, but I haven't read Batman and Robin yet, and I keep hearing bad things about it, and I'm worried because that's pretty much my
I've
favorite.
been enjoying that.
You
Yeah, I've
know.
not read it yet, the new one, but I've been
Yeah,
really
no.
enjoying PKJ's take on
And
it.
Dark Patterns, me and you like have a differing opinion of it.
We
but
do.
yeah,
I really like it.
I didn't
Jim's
really like it,
"What?
and I
What's
think
going
that
on?"
the Hayden Sherman art is not. It's okay, but it wasn't doing it for me. For Mr. What was his name, Mr. Hurtful, whatever the Hurt Man.
I want to say Dr. Hurt, but that's
Yeah,
Grant
yeah,
Morrison's
really.
Batman,
Oh.
isn't it, back in the day?
What else I
The
heard
Wound
too?
Man.
And I want to call him the Wounded Man, but it's the Wound Man, which
Wounded
is
Man.
odd. I did hear there is a guest artist on Wonder Woman coming up. I think the next issue, and that supposedly the art
Oh,
is
yeah.
incredible. That's one of the things that people were telling me that they're afraid that once they see this art, that people are going to flip out and not want Hayden Sherman back. So we'll have to see how it is. Mr. Ouchie, Fear Monic said. that guy, he has like rebar in him and all that. It was, I don't know. I think the idea that story needed a couple more issues is the 3 issue, and then it kind of wrapped up. But I don't know. We could talk about whatever now or go as long as we want. But I think that you're going to be. Are you doing something tonight with Sully, or is that tomorrow?
Oh, wait a minute. What day is it? Because I'm all messed up because of Japan. But
Well,
it's going to
Friday
be
here, but I think it's tomorrow.
Saturday evening.
Saturday evening. Your
American
time?
time, US, yeah.
Our
Saturday evening,
time.
American time. So it's be
Yeah,
early
yeah.
morning for me, Jim. Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Sunday morning.
And Brandon said that he wants to get Tom King. But I heard that there were rumors that he was going to be off Wonder Woman at like 21, and that didn't seem to be the case, which stinks. And yeah. And then even back to Jack with the idea, and I actually tried to get a hold of Eric this week because I couldn't find anybody who read Black Lightning or DC versus Vampires. So I ended up where I was asking around, and I kept telling Eric some of these books that he likes that I said, I don't think anybody's reading these. And he would always get mad. No, they're reading them and whatnot. I did actually send him a message, like kind of joking around, and said, hey, I told you, there's nobody who's reading these. I'm struggling. I got to find. I was kind of hoping that maybe he'd do that one last thing and do the Black Lightning and the DC versus Vampires. And maybe, every time they came up, he'd do it. Almost
Yeah.
like mix them in with everybody
Someone's
else.
got to do it, Jim. I'm just looking
Yeah.
on CBR. There's 1 critic review for Black Lightning issue 5 and 2 user reviews.
Yeah. It's
One
nobody.
great review.
Nobody
Man.
cares. Nobody cares. And it ended without a real ending, and was exposition at the end to set up the Power Company book that I don't think anybody's going to read. Anybody in the chat, anybody going to read the Power Company book? I don't even know that people even know it's a book. They had that prelude that I don't think anybody touched. So I don't know. That the plague, when me and Eric first started the podcast, it was we had to review every book. Now we kind of got away from fully that, but I don't want to drop every book. And it's tough. I mean, we almost do that with the Marvel stuff at times. So I also have to, I think I'm recording with Sully on Sunday, and we're going to do the Fin Fang Foom.
Oh, cool.
the
Yeah,
Nick
he was saying that
Fury,
was really fun. I've
and
not read it yet.
Yeah, and the Sabretooth Dead Man don't do anything but do Gangs of New York. That's what I
Dead
call
Man
it.
Walking. Gangs of New Dead Man.
Gangs of New Dead Man Sabretooth is what
Jim,
it is.
actually, that's been pretty fun. It was, shout out to the Get Fresh crew because they recommended it, that Sabretooth mini, and it's been good. It's quite sexy. The last issue was sexy.
Fear Monic is catching up on manga this month. But what are you buying? What is it? Sus manga that you can't read on the bus? That's what I want to. It's tentacle.
Does it have
manga,
tentacles?
I
That's what I
believe
wanna
is
know.
what is happening there. But me and also we've been doing our Manga Monday show as well. But I haven't heard from Luke in 2 weeks. I actually have a couple in the can because I know Luke ends up ditching me. So
I tell you what, those recent episodes, they've been going pretty long. I'm surprised you managed to keep Luke awake.
Yeah, really.
for that long to
The
record.
funny thing is, we used to have a thing where when we first started that if it didn't hit an hour, we said that it must have stunk. But then we started not
right.
getting to the hour a lot. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I end up there. There's a bunch. There's a couple really cool new manga. But the thing is, if people would find out the manga that I like, it's not tentacle stuff, but it is stuff that most people end up not liking as much as adult males. I love these school shenanigans. I love the like kids in school that are like love triangle stuff and whatever, like Blue Box. I really did like. I liked Witch Watch, a lot of different things like that. Dan to Dan was one of my favorites. That and I don't know if you've done or read Marriage Toxin. I really like that as well. Dan to Dan's one of the better ones. That
Marriage
is
Toxin.
crazy.
Isn't that about your life? Or is it mine? My life.
It's mine, definitely. I hear you and your wife talking. You got it a lot better than me. I just get yelled at. But and also the idea what Fearmonic said, Dan to Dan. Gigi and Dan to Dan is my favorite character. One of my favorite characters of all time. I love his crazy poses and his meme deals. That's why I also like Spy Family with Anya and her meme faces as well. But
I'm just looking for Good Night Pun Pun because I like the sound of that. And the Fearmonic's dropped in the chart. I haven't heard of it, but what a great title.
Yeah, and that's pretty good. And we at that one point we had 7 manga reading clubs, and Luke just
you used to have a load, didn't you?
We had Spy Family, Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, Chainsaw Man, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Dragon Ball, and Death Note. So yeah, there was 7 deals. That was a lot. And Luke did most of them and then bailed for 3 months. I didn't even hear. I thought he was dead. So we might get back to those. I think I actually have some of the episodes of Demon Slayer that I haven't even edited. And I just looked. We actually keep getting iTunes reviews for the Demon Slayer, people asking if we're coming back and if Luke's alive. So that's pretty cool. But now I'm telling you, can't hear that. They are ripping the house apart. It's just coming down. And this is
how long is it going to take, Jim? Do they know?
I'm telling you,
the rest of your life.
It's going to take forever. And the thing is,
2 weeks.
He built this studio thing, which is pretty cool, right? It has that window that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, face at the window.
But the idea, he did this because they were going to do the 3rd floor where I usually record. Hasn't done anything, and now I'm down here and they're doing right above me. I don't get it. I don't get why I'm here in this room when they're doing the work right above me. But that's what they're doing. And I want to ask people, too. Here's another thing in this impromptu show. Does anybody ever get, like, I'm not saying that you get in trouble because you don't clean. I'm talking dishes now. Would anybody get in trouble if when you were done a meal, you actually put dishes in the sink to clean them later and didn't put them on the counter? I keep getting yelled at because when I'm done cooking, I'd put the things in the sink because they're dirty, and I scrape them off and I rinse them off, but some of the things I have to soak. I get yelled at. I get yelled at that I was the biggest scumbag ever because I had dishes in the sink. And again, this isn't the idea of, you didn't wash them for a month. This was 5 seconds after I got done cooking and I wanted to eat. So I put them in the sink while I was eating, and I was told nobody puts dirty dishes in the sink.
Welcome everybody to the Weird Science
Am I the only
show.
one? I'm like, that's what everybody does. I said the big joke, and it's like piles up. It was a pan and a saucepan and a frying pan. That's it, and a spatula. I got so much guff.
Jim, this is turning into Jim Has Issues episode. What's going on?
It is. I was so angry. And
Issues with everybody.
And then I got yelled at today because, see? I'm telling you, I'm screenshotting. Megatherian, I'm screenshotting.
Megatherian, yeah, me too. I put them in the sink and I put some water on to soak them, especially, the really dirty ones, and leave them for a bit.
I told you what I ate today. This was a pot that I ended up making curry. So I had the big saucepan. I made the curry, then put it in. I have this big Tupperware deal that I put it in. Once it cools down, I put it in the fridge. And I put the thing in and filled it with water in the sink. And I was told, nobody does that. You should let it soak on the counter. I'm like, but why? Why would you do that? I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm like, that's the deal. And this is the problem. Brandon's right. We don't have the dishwasher, mainly because she doesn't feel good right now. That was a joke about my
I,
wife.
I was I'm typing a reply to that as well. We don't have dishwashers in Japan.
Yeah.
We only have grey.
Yeah,
I've got to do the
Now,
dishes.
the thing is, we did have a dishwasher, but right now, also just to imagine this too, there's no everything in the kitchen is bare. We have a stove because he's ripping it apart. So there's a stove, there's a sink, there are a couple chairs and a fridge, a refrigerator. So there's not even anywhere. And I was getting yelled at about cleaning the dishes, but there's nowhere to put them then. So I have been actually like kind of cleaning them and just have them there and then I grab them, re-clean them, rinse them off, and use them. I just don't get it. I'm so angry. Yeah, there you go. Dirty dishes. That's what the sink is for. And we had a dishwasher, but we don't have it now. We're getting one later. And also the sink. It's not even a fancy sink. It's a big basin sink that's just there because I yelled that we didn't have a sink. We didn't have a sink at one point, and I was cleaning dishes in the the bathtub. It's the worst. But he's ripping the house apart. You have to be here at some of that, but yeah, he's doing quite a job. But yes, so
Jim, what have you got coming up next on the YouTubes?
Oh, the
Anything
YouTubes?
exciting?
No.
Yeah.
I actually might. Well, I want to start a show. If people would be interested in it, a show that would be a positive show. And I talked to Sully, and I even mentioned it to you at one point that maybe I was thinking maybe Saturday night. It's a weird play though, because so many people do shows, and even so many people that we're friends with, and you kind of don't want to overlap. I do believe I think that Josh has a show. I
used to do one, Jim, Saturday night. When Friday night American time, but there's so many people streaming there. It's just kind of like, I don't know.
Exactly. So I worry about that, but I want to do it some time, and that's kind of the best time because now that Eric isn't involved, I actually get the podcast done usually. Usually I was editing Saturday, but I want to have a show where we kind of get together, a couple people, maybe rotating deal, and we have to convince each other that there was something positive in comics that week. Sometimes it'll be easy. Like even if me and you were on it and we said, oh, we really like some of this Absolute Superman. Sometimes it's a struggle though, but I kind of want it. But I also might get back to doing the what's it called, the preview show. And me and you used to do the best of. I don't like doing it myself, and it's just that our schedules are so wacky and crazy that we don't know what the deal. But I did like doing that. Hey, these are the things I'm looking forward to that week, and I might start doing that again. And other than that, I have the Marvel podcast that I didn't put up because I was going to put it up when I got my accident. Everything was like that night. I guess it was Wednesday afternoon to Wednesday night. All the things that I was trying to get together, none of it worked out. It all fell through. And then people were yelling at me. I also got yelled at. I got yelled at because somehow it must have been my fault that I got hit. I just get yelled at all the time. And
you came flying out of a side alley with Danny the Street, didn't you, on your bike? So that's why he didn't see you.
So even like today, I ended up where I was doing something. I went upstairs because I have the coffee makers actually in the room upstairs, and I made coffee. I went to get coffee, and then I'm like, oh my God! I think it was right before me and you recorded because I'm like, oh my God! I start running, and I fell down the stairs again, and I got coffee all over, and I was getting just screamed at. I'm like, I don't understand. I fell. I didn't mean it. I'm a klutz. So. There you go. Little extra bonus time.
We've got Fearmonic saying, Void Rivals, I love that. Void Rivals and Redcoat were great this week. Jim, I'm so behind. I've not even read them yet.
Yeah, I need
to read
Zach,
Geiger.
Yeah, me and Zach are doing Geiger and Redcoat this week. And anybody read that Dennis Camp book?
I know. I was looking into that.
I ended up where I told Simon to read it because he's fancy. So I ended up asking him to read it, and he said he was going to read it, but he never got back to me if it was good or not. But he was drunk. He ended up recording. We did Green Lantern Corps for the podcast, and he was drunk as hell.
Oh, cool.
He came in screaming and yelling, cursing. You should hear him. Oh my goodness, he was so drunk. So we talked about that, and that was a good issue. I really liked that. And I actually, for the regular DC podcast, still have to do the 2 books. But I already had 2 9s this week, so it's crazy.
A 9?
Yeah,
what's going on?
2 9s. I'll even tell you, it was Aquaman and Green Lantern Corps. And Green Lantern Corps, I
Wow.
don't even think it's I think that it's more Morgan Hampton, and I really liked it. I thought that if it is just him or whatnot, or Jeremy Adams is helping, it was really good. I thought it was pretty cool. Fearmonic said that Geiger, yeah, and the coffee with ants, that's the worst. I ended up that was
Jeez, has that become a
I think
meme
I've
yet?
avoided that recently, but it was the worst. Also because
Jim's ants in his
ants
coffee for
ants are
flavour.
usually black, and so is the coffee. And then once you get it, then you put a little cream, and you're like, "Oh God, what is going on there?" So one time, I ended up where I was making. Cause this is a long, long time ago, and we have a real old house. So I ended up going downstairs. I was making coffee, and I go to get some silverware, and I'm like, "Oh man, who is doing? Somebody got all these crumbs here in the silverware drawer. Oh, this is bull." So I start going and realize later. Oh, that was mouse turds, and it was all on the spoon. It was disgusting. It just made me sick. And so
Mouse
yeah, there
turds?
was mouse turds in
Mamma
this thing, and
mia.
I'm like grabbing this thing, and they were in the coffee, and I thought it was at first I thought it was like I don't even know what I thought, like chocolate or something. It was weird. So yeah, there was I have some weird things. I usually when things go, I get a little lazy and try to figure out what things are and just go with it and end up eating mouse turds and stuff like that. So.
Jim,
Uh,
just to address a comment in the chat to Megatherion, he's talking about his books usually come in the mail on Saturday or Monday. In Japan, we can't get them until the Saturday after they come out. That's when they hit the shops usually.
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm nowhere near a comic shop. I've got to order mine, so I get them usually
yeah,
the
that
following
stinks.
Tuesday or
No,
Wednesday. So it's like a week late,
yeah,
for a physical copy.
yeah. We don't have a comic shop in our town anymore. The nearest
Okay, yeah,
one's like
same
the
here.
nearest one's
No,
like 45 minutes
I've
away.
got a
And
mail order in Tokyo.
I I don't even get to to drive a car. I have to take that stupid bike around because Rafe and here's the other thing too. Others, misery. This is just I'm airing my grievances. Rafe ends up working 9 hours, so he goes and he'll go in at 12 and he works till 9 sometimes. And I need the car, so I say to him, "Listen, I'll drive you to work and then I'll pick you up at 9." And he's like, "No, no, no. I need the car there. It makes me feel anxious if it's not there all day in case I need it." I'm like, "What the hell? It's just there in the parking lot." And he rules the roost. So there you go. We end up where he'll be leaving soon. He's going in the army. At a point where all the world is at a pretty calm and peaceful state when he decides to join the army. So yeah, yeah. So I end up where I've always been all digital just because there's no comic shop in and getting review copies and stuff like that. I
That's why I
actually
had
like.
to. I made the shift to digital, back in 2016, I think it was, when I got back into comics because I'm in Japan and there's
Yeah,
nowhere unless I live in Osaka or I live in Tokyo. You just
yeah.
can't get
It's
them.
it's crazy, and even then, I mean, I know that people like say that Japan has like a ton. People love manga, obviously, but comics as well. But then again, like the manga is mainly digital, and then you just order the trades when they come out. Which again,
Yeah,
that's like everybody's had like a video on that and things like that. But that's what I wish that the big two would end up doing: have the stuff just on the app, and people will buy trades. Obviously, they do with manga. You just got to kind of wait. You kind of ease
yeah. There's
people
still a
into it and
huge
stuff.
physical market here,
Yeah.
despite the digital.
And
Yeah,
and
seriously,
most
people
of the
love it.
stuff you get if you get the app, even if you don't have the app, if you keep up with it, you can read everything for free. Like day one, you read it for free, and then people do want to get the physical trade then, which is pretty cool. And I think that overall, I think that manga fans are definitely some of the like most loyal. If they like something, they'll usually buy it. Most people aren't
Oh
cheap
yeah,
like
without a
me.
doubt.
Again, I'm telling you one thing that I would talk about people who do collect, and even if you do get trades or whatever, I rarely ever go back and read anything. I just end up reading things for podcasts and things like that. So I don't really sit and read like for pleasure anyway. But I don't ever really feel like there's anything that I really have to go back and read. Like I'm talking about like normal, regular things. I did recently read like one of the things that me and you reviewed, that Klaus from Grant Morrison when Christmas came. I went through that
Oh
really
yeah,
quick. I think Jack ended up sending me the deal, so I ended up
Dan
going
Morrow on
through it.
art on that as
Yeah, it's
well.
so good.
Back
And
before he
just
was
paging through
famous.
that is really, really cool. But in the meantime, most of the time I don't end up rereading a lot of stuff. So and I don't collect covers and things. I'm telling you, I'm a weirdo. I don't really care. It's weird.
You?
No, it's
Really?
like even with the art and stuff. Like I've never actually said, "Oh my God, I have to have that cover." Like so many people, and people get mad when I'm like, "I'm digital," and I just forget about it. But it's just because just go through it. I like the stories. I might think about them later or whatnot. Now I did actually have to go to the me and Eric actually after work a couple times because we were legit in. I think it ended up being like 9 issues of different DC comics, and I was in a Marvel comic as well. So that was kind of cool. It was funny too because it was Juan Ferreira who put us a lot in the Green Arrow that he did with Ben Percy. But every time we would show up, we would die. We would be in certain things and we'd always end up dying. But he kept changing our looks back and forth, and every time, and somehow he gets the idea that we were a fat guy and a skinny guy. So whoever it ended up being that time, the other would make fun of each other. Like, oh, they
Writers and artists, they just love killing Garrick and Jim, don't they? In comics back in the day.
That's
Kill them, the Weird Science Boys.
That's what happened. One were on a plane, and it ends up being, I think Cheshire might have killed us because she brought down the plane. But we're like hugging each other in a loving embrace as we end up going down the plane. And the funny thing is what he did was he put the WS logo. We had the shirts, but then on the shirt it says Jim, and the other one said Eric. It looks so stupid. Also, at one point, we were in the one where Green Arrow was doing that hard traveling heroes, and he went to Metropolis, and Superman actually saved us. And the story was that we ended up, somebody found our internet history, and we were revealed to be sus. So we jumped out the window, and Superman saved us as we fell to our deaths. It was pretty funny. We get these deal. And V. Ken Marion, if you know him, artist, he put us in a couple things as well. We got killed by parademons in that. It's funny, though. Every time we did it, it was like just viciously killed. And then Eric started getting mad because it didn't go well in continuity, that we kept dying. So, but the thing with V.K. Marion was funny because we actually ended up in hell from dying, and then parademons. It was wacky, but oh well. But we'll probably get going. You have shit to do. You got your day ahead of you.
Saturday morning here, Jim.
Yeah,
I got shit to do.
I'm starting to get really tired. I also was going to make a sus song tonight, but I didn't get a chance. I did one. I told you I was going to do one after we talked this morning, and I did do one. I was going to say the name, but it would probably get demonetized if I say it. It's sus, but I don't know how well it's doing. It actually is the song Eat My Ass Tonight by the band The Balloon Knots. So there you go. Thank you. Also, Fonda Dix with just 3 blanks. There's never enough. Fun stuff.
Dear old Fonda. Where is she now?
Fonda Dix. Yeah. But yeah, so if anybody wants to check out some sus music, you can go to Sus Records. Look that up on the YouTube, and you can see all my crazy songs. Some guy actually did give me credit today and said that it was the most authentic sounding song from like a 40s type deal that he's ever heard. So I was very impressed with myself for about
Brandon's
2
asking in the
seconds.
chat, make a dirty song, Jim, about the mouth wound. Oh my God, the possibilities.
Yeah, it would be. Mouth, I'm telling you. At this point, I ended up where I've done so many different things that the minute, like you say, a part of your body, I'm like, okay, that rhymes with that, and I'm ready to rock. Mouth wound. I could do that.
Split lip.
That'd be
Come
good.
on.
Actually, I ended up where I was. I'm not even going to get into it. I had two ideas for songs, and they're the worst. They're so bad. But yes, yeah. I like that Brandon said that. Classic titles. The thing is, I ended up where I got a community strike because I got a song, and it wasn't even that bad. It said penis in it, and they got me. Some of these songs are like so over the top, and I said penis.
You can't say penis on YouTube. What the hell? What's going on, Jim?
I know. There's the Dolly Parton type. She had the "Let's Have Sex in Public Places" earlier. That was a big hit for the country set, but. Besides that, now I'm just rambling on. But thanks, everybody. I don't mind hanging out, too. When we do this, hopefully we'll have time, and we can end up talking a little more, and maybe even have some things planned. We did say that we're going to talk a little extra, but obviously nothing was planned.
We did.
We're just blabbing. Maybe we'll even have some things that we end up. You have to use Venus. I'm telling you. And when you have the dirty songs and you have any sort of thing, you have to put like A asterisk asterisk. It's a pain in the butt, but that's the deal. There's your lovely wife. So she's probably like, "What the hell?" She gray muted this mic. He might be getting yelled at, but we're
She's like, "What, are you still recording?"
yeah, we're
in
still
Japanese?
recording, but yeah. So we're gonna get out of here. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us afterwards too, and thanks for the super chats especially. That is awesome. So thanks, and we'll be back next week. We do have Batman and Flash, and I should be in the right state of mind or a little bit better. So we'll talk to you all later. Actually, I should play a dirty song as we go, but I end up where Gray's now like, God, this guy won't go off. I'm going to put something. This might get us to, maybe I'll just put the last one that I did mention. It is let's see here. I got to get to the thing. It's a 60s girl group deal. It's Eat My Ass Tonight. So here we go. I'm going to load that up. If you end up having some little ones around, you might not want to listen, but you can see it. This isn't even like the greatest one ever. I could play something that's better, but it is loading still. Once it loads up, I will shoot it.
The susser the better, Jim. That's what I say.
It's not loading. Oh, there it goes. Here we go. This is
Film on it saying, "Thanks for making work a bit less suck."
Yeah, well, there you go. You can dance to this. Here we go, and then we'll be out of here.
If you're hungry, I don't want you to hesitate. Oh, don't you hesitate. I got something for you that will taste so great. Yeah, it'll taste so great. Just pull my pants down to my knees. Turn me around and do as you please. But when you do it with a little bit of expertise. What I'm saying is, come on, baby, won't you eat my ass tonight? Get your head in there, don't be so uptight. Come on, baby, won't you eat my ass tonight? Get real deep and make me feel alright. Just put your tongue in and don't you know now, you're sucking on my leather Cheerio. So come on, baby, and eat my ass tonight. I have to admit that this isn't all just for you. Yeah, baby, that is true. I've been looking for somebody to do the things you do. Yeah, I've been looking for you. You can satisfy my little quirk, 'cause your long tongue is quite the perk. So stop wasting time, 'cause it's time for you to get to work. What I'm saying is, come on, baby, won't you eat my ass tonight? Get your head in there, don't be so uptight. Come on, baby, won't you eat my ass tonight? Get real deep and make me feel alright. It's time to show me just what you got while you go to town on my brown balloon knot. So come on, baby, and eat my ass tonight. I just want you to dive right in and let me see your shit-eating grin. You have one job, and that job is to keep licking that rim. What I'm saying is, come on, baby, won't you eat my ass tonight? Get your head in there, don't be so uptight. Come on, baby, won't you eat my ass tonight? Get real deep and make me feel alright. Just close your eyes and make a wish while you're taking care of my chocolate starfish. So come on, baby, and eat my ass tonight. Yeah, eat my ass tonight. Oh, eat it, baby. Eat my ass tonight. Eat my ass tonight. Yeah, eat my ass tonight. Eat my ass tonight. Don't be lazy. Eat my ass tonight. Yeah, eat my ass. How dare you?
It is ended.
Are we still live, darling?
No, we're not.